Welcome. You've splash landed into this Prosecco-laden podcast, straight into the woo-woo pool with the crew of Ohm-g. We're just a simple group of tragically imperfect and highly empathic BFFs, exploring a wide range of atypical topics with humor, grace, and curiosity. This is Ohm-g. Welcome. The topic today is aliens, starseeds, galactic forces. Lord knows we can only scratch the surface of this one, but we're here for it. And you're here with the crew of
Ohm-g, the podcast. Welcome back, everybody. This is Chandra.
This is Brenda.
This is Camille.
And this is Lynn.
Lynn is joining us remotely again.
Snow day.
Yep. So it's not the same, Lynn. It's just not the same.
I know. I miss you all.
I miss you too. It's been a while since we've seen you, right? Was it the Christmas party was the last time?
Yeah,
It's been almost a month.
Oh my God.
Mhm.
I'm suffering from
I'm
limb
sorry.
withdrawal.
I've been traveling and doing all kind of stuff.
Yeah, but we miss you. Miss seeing my friends.
Yeah, I miss being there. But at least I can Riverside in, so that's good.
Yep. And you didn't wreck or anything because your road looked kind of
Exactly.
treacherous this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't need little snow
it
babies.
was.
So here we are. We're going to talk about aliens. Giddy up, y'all. Are we ready? What are they?
Well, that's the strange thing. When I think about the first time in my life that I ever thought about aliens, I was a young child and I was watching a musician on Saturday Night Live, I believe. And his name was Gary Newman. And he was all dressed up and had all this shiny, crazy jumpsuit stuff on and makeup. And he was singing, "I'm praying to the aliens." And I thought,
And Camille goes,
okay.
my people. I have found my people.
But I looked at this punk rocker back then and thought, oh, he's an alien. And later I looked at David Bowie and thought, oh, he's an alien. And then from there it was Star Wars and all of that stuff. But I've kind of always brushed it to the side or poo-pooed it until I guess maybe in the past decade. And I'm kind of a believer. And that's where I'll leave that. I want to know what you guys think and about aliens in general and what your early experiences were and beliefs are.
Well,
I know you got the stories, Brenda Sue.
The look on her face, y'all.
I got a couple of stories, but are aliens intergalactic beings? Are they all grays? Are they pinks and purples and blues and oranges? Or like, what do they look like? How many different races are there?
I'm gonna throw this out there. It's controversial. I don't care. It's just my belief. Take it for what it is. Are there intergalactics? Yes, probably. Are we in this reality, in this universe, are we the only sentient creatures? Of course not. However, when we're talking about aliens, I'm in the same camp as I am with Bigfoot. All multidimensional. I think there are dimensions that things exist in that have figured out how to show up and, they can pop into other dimensions and look around, check things out. I believe for the most part, it's just interdimensional beings crossing through, checking things out.
Among us.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's my stance. Till Spirit enlightens me otherwise and I change it.
Miss Lynn.
I agree with Chandra. I think that there are interdimensional beings, and I think that there are beings that are present in this universe that we live in. And one of the reasons that I believe that, as far as the being able to peep in from other dimensions, is because we pop into the Akashic Records all the time, and that's in a different dimension. So if we figured out how to do that, they have too.
Do you correlate that popping in with jumping timelines? Do you see that the same? Or just
I don't
visiting?
know. I've never thought of it. I think I just visit there.
Okay.
And is there a place, or is it just like another frequency that's vibrating right next to us?
Yes.
Yes, I think it's a different frequency, which is for me is like a different quote unquote dimension or realm.
Right. Well, y'all know I've had some experiences with this situation. The aliens or unidentified beings caught on camera. And then, of course, we had the situation out in Sedona. I was out there with a good friend of mine. She was hosting a retreat, and it was the creepiest place, y'all. It was like you were being watched the entire time you were there.
Mm-hmm.
And we decided to do a spirit circle one night, and we had like our own separate house, this group of us that was doing the retreat. And so we're sitting in this house. Y'all, we're out in the middle of nowhere. It's not in Sedona. It's outside of Sedona. And it's dark out there, y'all. It's real dark. And all the lights off. We're sitting in this living room, this group of women. And I'm looking at the window and I'm like, what the hell is that? And I shit you not, it was the outline of what looked like a neon green glowing alien shape, like the head shape and the body. And it was like it was standing in the window. And I wasn't the only one who saw it. So I wasn't just crazy. Like we all saw this alien standing in the window. So are some of them not nice, or are they just curious and they were there looking? What is the feeling that you get, like being either creeped out by it? Because I was creeped out by the stuff out there. It just felt like, I don't know. There's just some stuff out there that just wasn't right. And they had all these vortex sites on this piece of property that they had pointed out, and you could go and tour them. And so I'm sure stuff could just pop in and out, you know?
Yeah.
So depending on what it is that you're attracting, you might get all kinds of stuff. And then, y'all, I got to tell you this. It's funny. I don't think I've told you this story, or maybe I have. We were at this retreat and we were in like this community house and we were doing some sort of meditation. So we're all sitting in this circle, and this place, like people could come and go if they wanted to and like rent some space or camp out there or whatever. This group of people came in, and some of them were high as a kite. That's all I'm going to say. But they were saying they were being chased across the desert from alien ships. They had just been to Mount Shasta and they'd like traveled down to Sedona. And like, I know Mount Shasta's got some activity.
Yeah, high
Bucket
strangeness.
list.
Mm-hmm. And maybe they were being chased by UFOs, or was it like military planes, some sort of high, you know, stuff that we don't know about. But there was a lot of strangeness like that. And they all came in and they sat down for our meditation. And on this retreat center, you couldn't have drugs or alcohol. It was like you weren't allowed to bring it in or partake. But they had obviously been partaking either.
There was enough strangeness already on the property. You didn't need to bring in. You didn't need to bring in your own.
Exactly. They were already participating in some sort of stuff. But it was just very interesting to be out there and have those experiences. And then the first night we were out there, the second night, I don't remember, we went outside and it's so dark out there that the stars are just like amazing. You could see the Milky Way, like it was amazing. But I saw a shadow go above me. And whenever I looked up, I saw two triangle black shaped crafts that passed over us, completely silent. Could have been military. I don't know. They were UFOs to me because they were unidentified flying objects. So I think that there's a lot of things that exist that we don't know about. And probably the government knows about a lot of stuff too that we're not in tune to or haven't been told about.
Well, the last time that my husband and I were in Sedona, we did a UFO tour, and our tour guide cracked out the military grade night vision goggles
Tactic.
Nice. So we get out in this area, kind of like out in the desert, and it's like between these two hills. So even though the moon was out, we were kind of like shaded from the moonlight. And he was very in tune with the energies. Like you could tell he'd been doing it for a long time. And he told me, look there. And he pointed. And when I looked, it looked like a star, but it was slightly larger than the stars around it. And it was brighter than the stars around it. And as soon as I had to like focus the goggles a little bit to bring it in. And as soon as I brought it into focus, it looked like plasma. It looked like sparkles within the sparkle. and it was like moving and dancing within. It was a perfect circle, but stuff was moving and dancing inside of it.
Like something under a microscope.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And it was moving, but at a certain pace. And he told me to speak to it. And as soon as I kid you, as soon as I spoke to it, it stopped. And when it started moving again, it started going in a totally different direction.
Wow.
So it was not a star. It was not a plane. It was unidentified. And I saw 3 or 4. I remember 3. It feels like it was more than that, but I totally remember 3. Jason wasn't as into like the other paranormal stuff that we did out there, like the Sasquatch stuff and all that stuff. But he just sat there with the military goggles and played around. He counted 6. He saw 6 things that he could not explain. And one of them, the guy pointed like a laser pointer at it, and it played with us. Like he would point the laser pointer at it, it would stop. And this was one that we could see with our own eyes. It was tiny, 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 but we could see like the speck of light with our own eyes. And he would point the laser pointer at it, it would stop. And then he would move the laser pointer to a different location, and when he would take the laser pointer down, it would go to that spot.
Sky Kitty.
Yeah, Sky Kitty, exactly. So it was interacting with us. It was letting us know that it was intelligent and that it knew we were there, which I was just totally shook by.
Well, that's what they're talking about now with the drone activity, is that they're chasing these plasma balls, and that the drones are military or government, and maybe they're trying to figure out what kind of intelligence it is or where it's coming from. But I think it's really interesting because there's been a lot of correlation in things that I've been reading or listening to that talks about the drones and the plasma balls being seen in the same place. So,
and this experience was earlier in the year, so it was before a lot of these
The New Jersey drones.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Lynn, what you got to say on this topic, girl?
I've always believed that there are spaceships around, just because there's been some unexplained things I've seen in the skies, and we're not here alone. Like, it'd be ridiculous to even think that we as a human race are the only thing in this great big universe.
Of course.
100%.
I did. It was me and Brenda one night. I can't remember when it was, Brenda. It wasn't that long ago, because I know I was sitting in the living room admiring my Christmas decorations. And after doing all that work, getting them up, do you remember, Brenda, when we had that conversation and I couldn't even sit in my living room any longer because the
There was so much energy.
was so strong in there?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was during the 7-week
Joanna class.
Joanna. Yeah. And because I actually messaged her and was like, hey, I'm loving this shadow work, but now there's aliens in my living room.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like, to me, it felt different than spirits. This felt like interdimensional, intergalactic. I don't know the correct word for that. But even when I was texting with Brenda, she was like, it's like they're being piped in.
Mm-hmm. The energy was being piped into your house.
Yeah, and that's what it felt like. And I think it's just doing all this work that I've been doing, and it just being more open to things like that kind of allowed that to happen. But I think it was a day or two later, remember, I texted everybody and was like, holy shit. I was driving down the road and I looked out the window to my left and I saw something in the sky. My first thought was, oh, it's the moon. And I thought, how beautiful. But I did a double take, like in a split second, and it was gone. And I was like, oh, that was some sort of...
That was something...
shit.
That was an attention getter for you. That
Yeah.
was just something to get your attention.
They're like, hey, we're here.
Yeah.
What you experienced was real.
Yeah. And it was quite... For a minute, I thought, okay, this is it. Like, I probably just need to go check myself in somewhere and get some, straight jacket and some medication or something. But then I was like, no, because we're not here alone. We're not here on this planet alone. And they've even had government hearings where they're talking about they've recovered things that are biological, not human.
Right.
Right.
There's so much more going on that we just don't know about, I think.
Well, I mean, even for us, it was about a year ago, I think. It was within the last year. But it was before we started the shadow work course. And we were all kind of like in a spot where we were leveling up. We weren't all like at the same level, but in some way, everybody was leveling up in their kind of own way. And we all started having those experiences of where we were dreaming about blue beings. We were seeing blue light. During meditation, we would see like avian beings or blue beings.
Mhm.
And then we did that spirit circle. Now, this was probably my most tangible experience with, like, we'll just call them interdimensional beings. But we were here at your house, Brenda. We were doing a spirit circle. We were downstairs in a small room, and we'd put cardboard and tinfoil over the window so that it would be like super dark.
We put our tinfoil hats on.
We had our tinfoil hats on. Yes, we did. We were calling them in, tuning in the frequency. But especially in spirit circles, I always kind of start out with my eyes closed just because, ADHD.
Center.
Yeah, the speck of light, I'm going to be drawn toward it. So I was started out with my eyes closed, and I felt like I needed to open my eyes and look toward the window. And when I did, it went from dark to very light. When I opened my eyes, it was dark, and it was just like somebody flipped on a light, and it was very blue, and it looked like it was coming through the window.
Even though there's no way possible
Even though
any light could have come through that window.
Right. I mean, and it was nighttime, so like even logically, there was no light coming through that window. And then I said something, and everybody else was like, "Yeah, I see it too." And then Lynn said we should invite them in, and so we all kind of chimed in. We kind of all agreed that it was the blue beings that we'd kind of all been working with individually, and so we told them it was okay to come into the circle. And as soon as we did, it got dark again. And it was like they were giving us a clue that they were outside the window waiting for us to invite them, that they wanted it. Because I don't think anybody, like, when we opened the circle, nobody invited them in. We didn't think to do that. But they showed up and were waiting for the invitation. So that's probably like the most tangible experience that I've ever had with interdimensional beings.
What about that night? One of the first things that we did with Lynn, we were out on that farm, remember? And there was that portal with the squatch that we've talked about before, and the blue face that popped up. Do you remember that?
Yeah, a blue face popped right out of the woods.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that was them?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it was the same blue beings that we ended up working with later?
I think it was. I had totally forgotten about that, Brenda. I'm glad you brought that up, because it was quite jarring, actually, that to be standing there and just all of a sudden see a blue face.
Yeah, I think you jumped.
And I'm
After
pretty
we'd
sure
already
I did.
seen Sasquatch and red eyes in the woods,
Right.
and then the blue face, that was jarring. I'm just kidding, man.
It was a completely jarring night. There was a lot
Yeah.
of stuff going on out there that night. And as we're sitting here talking, I'm just kind of laughing on the inside, thinking how crazy it all sounds. But after you've seen it, you can't really deny it.
Right.
Right.
I mean, you can, but
And you can't go back.
like, I know, right, you can't go back. And so if people, want to think I'm crazy, I guess, whatever. But yeah, that blue face, he popped right out of the woods.
I feel like that happened somewhere else too. That was another thing we were all doing together, and the blue face popped up. I don't know if it was one of our spirit circles.
I think I'm remembering it as one of the spirit circles.
Yeah.
That somebody saw a blue face in the circle.
Yeah. And it wasn't whenever Chandra was in the closet up at the spirit circle in your house, was it, Lynn? There was a lot of stuff going on during that spirit circle.
No, but yeah, we're seeing blue lights behind me.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, we're seeing like blue specks behind me.
So are those beings aliens, or are they interdimensional, or is it both the same? As alien and interdimensional beings an interchangeable word?
Well, okay, I'm going to get a little
I think people
philosophical.
use it synonymously.
Well,
Yeah.
we're interdimensional beings, so everything's interdimensional being, right?
Yeah, maybe so.
If you try to think about it from the highest perspective,
True that.
because we exist in spirit and we exist in this reality, so
And we can also pop into other realities too, like with remote viewing, or when you're doing psychic work, you're also connecting with different realities.
Astral travel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you know, the minute I think, gee, I'd like to learn more about aliens, then I start going down these rabbit holes: Arcturians, Pleiadians, Syrians, reptilians. They're good and bad. Are they all good? I'd like to think if they were bad or had ill intent toward us, they could have blown us up many times over by now. Our brains are so infected by the media and the movies and things that we saw growing up when it comes to aliens. But I'm very, very curious and would just love to know what you guys think. Are they as different as we are, like different people from different countries
but if
planet?
If it's just different beings having a different experience.
Right.
So if it's other souls that have chosen to be in a different reality, having a different experience, then they've got to be just like they are. It depends on what definition you want to give it. I mean, we have good people. We have bad people. We have people that present as evil. There's got to be a similar, I don't want to say hierarchy, but you know what I mean? Like within other souls who have chosen to have a experience in a different type of existence. Does that make sense?
It does. And I also assume that they are still all more powerful than we are.
Well, it's still going to be the definition that you assign to it. Well, but see, I feel like that's because to be human, we've had to swallow the pill of limitation.
That's true.
Like we are limited beings to have a human experience. When they may be looking at us like, I'm glad I decided to be Arcturian and not that human bullshit, because what they got going on down there, I could never. I mean, we don't know.
I know. And I've had a past life regression where I was with this galactic council in this golden black room, and it was amazing and it was exhilarating. And it's like there's just too much information and I need the Cliff's Notes is the best way that I could put it.
Right.
So I can start. Otherwise, I'm not even going to start because it's all so overwhelming.
Yeah.
No, I get that.
You know, I've been sitting here trying to think. I knew there was something else that I had forgotten. When I left Brenda's one night, maybe after Spirit Circle, I can't remember. And when I was driving home, remember I told you about this purple curtain that seemed to drop from the sky, and I drove through it. And I thought, I don't know what the hell that was, but it was so purple, and it was it had a sheen to it, or maybe a sparkle. And it just appeared from, it literally, I saw it drop. And I thought, I don't know what I'm driving into, but I can't stop now because I was going over the speed limit, we'll just say.
It's so strange to me. Like, there's so much that we don't know. And I think that's we're sitting here speculating really on what everything is and our own intuition and what we think that it is. But I think that it's all much stranger than we actually can even mentally understand.
Don't even get me started on alien abductions, because we've heard all kinds of examples from people. And I've also heard someone say that, when you walk into a room and you forget why you were going there, you've really been abducted and you've been gone for a while and dropped back in your body. And why would they abduct us? What do they need from us? Sorry, that's another episode.
Our ovaries.
Well, actually, I've heard things about that.
As Leslie Jordan used to say, well, shit. Because that happens to me 15 times a day that I walk into a room and don't know what I'm here for.
That's just our ADHD. That's just our ADHD playing tricks on them. But I had heard it before, but you sent me the reel from Bashar just the other night. And it's somebody's opinion. And his opinion, what Bashar has revealed to Daryl and what Daryl was then conveying, was that the Greys are actually an offshoot of human.
Okay.
Human from a different timeline that destroyed their Earth and are no longer reproductively viable. But because they are human, we're still compatible. So abductions are them harvesting DNA material so they can propagate.
Right. I've actually heard that, yes. And the babies grow rapidly so they can return the female subject back to Earth without her knowing anything. Yeah.
Right.
Like I said, different episode, y'all.
Yeah, different episode. But it's like you think about the things that you've experienced, the things that you've seen in your own meditations or that you've experienced in past life regressions, and you're like, can't say it ain't possible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, can I sit here right now and totally buy into it? No. Can I sit right here and totally say that ain't the thing? Can't do that either. So
my gut tells me we're going to know a whole lot more in a year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's
I think anything's possible. Yeah. It's just, we can't know.
And two, I also think we talk about like co-creating our reality and the reticular activating system, and what you put your attention on is what shows. I think there's so many people who are now super interested in asking the questions that you can't help but have more stuff be revealed to us in the reality because there's so much attention on it now.
Yeah.
That was the Bashar video that I listened to yesterday. I think it was his interview on, what's the name of that podcast? A really popular guy, Mind Soul Evolution or something like that. I can't remember his name, but he was talking about that, about as we evolve and as it becomes more commonplace that everybody's going to start having experiences. It's not going to be just a few people. It's just going to be like, it becomes more normal over time. Now, not tomorrow, probably not even in 10 years, but at some point down the road, it's going to be more like I think that it has been before. And I think that people from other dimensions have come and worked with humans to help do things. And then they left because we had to evolve or devolve, whichever way we've gone. Yeah. So Bashar says that it's going to become more commonplace because it will be like just kind of common knowledge at some point in time. Just don't know when. I'm here for it. I'd like to see it in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And like you were saying, Camille, it's just like, you just have it, even since childhood, always having that interest in paranormal activity and Sasquatch. And I was just fascinated by like the Star Trek and things of that nature. Just having that lifelong interest in it. It's like, yeah, there's not much that I would consider too weird from me. Bring it on.
Mm-hmm. 100%. We're just weird around here.
Same.
All right, ladies.
I just don't know what to say anymore. I see many episodes that we dive a little deeper into this topic.
Yeah, and I think I'll also add this. Star Trek and Star Wars and those movies, they got inspiration from somewhere because I see that shit out in the woods.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I know it exists. I believe it exists anyway.
I'm a Star Wars fan, just if anybody knows. Like, I love Star Wars.
I mean,
I love all of those movies.
Well, and
Bigfoot, Wookiee,
Chewbacca.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and I think it's like the things that exist are in the quantum field.
Absolutely.
And so when people start using their imagination, they're tapping into the quantum field. So they didn't make these things up. They were shown something, some frequency that's in the quantum field.
Mm-hmm.
Peanut could be an Ewok.
He is. He talks Wookiee to Daddy all the time. That's their love language.
All right. Well, maybe the next time we come together, we'll have more.
Maybe we'll have some new juicy experiences out in the woods.
Yes, some new juicy experiences.
Abduction, tales.
No, I don't want to be abducted. I'm just going to put that out there.
What's he look like?
Let's not close off options so quickly there, Brenda.
Are we talking Mork? Are we talking...
All right. We love you guys. Thanks for tuning in and listening to this.
Join us next time.
We will catch you on the next episode.
Peace out.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for joining us today. please follow and subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and leave a review. It's so easy to do and such a huge help for us. We appreciate your interactions so much. Want to join us at our table? Make sure to check out our YouTube channel and join our Facebook community. If you've enjoyed this content and wish to support us, take a look at our Patreon page. All information and links will be in our podcast description. Catch you next time.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM. Women's voices amplified.